We've got this from the YouTube page for Top Gear. There's a new retro-style supercar. It's got Italian design, but Toyota reliability. Let's take a look.
Are you interested in design? Do you actually like driving cars? Well, you're going to love this. Designed by legendary Italian ateliers Bertoni in what it calls a neo-retro style.
Bertoni, I believe same design firm responsible for many legendary designs for Lamborghini. I think they also worked on the body for the De Tomaso Pantera.
This thing has pop-up headlights. It's got a 6-speed manual gearbox. It's got a 468 brake horsepower supercharged V6. It comes in either Barchetta or Targa like this one, and it weighs just over a ton. This is Bertoni's reinvention of the classic runabout, and it is glorious. In fact, I'm going to go so far as to say this might be one of my cars of the year, and it's very early. So let's get straight into it, because the story behind this car is almost as cool as the car itself. Back in 1969...
Go on, then. As someone who has worked for the government my whole life, first in service, now for the service, a certain amount of waste is just part of it. They're too stupid, but the rest of all this nonsense is just bad faith bullshit. And doesn't look like you can see out the rearview mirror should the park camera fail. Yeah, you probably can't. I mean, I know you couldn't do that with the Lamborghini Countach. The rear view windscreen was just a little slat of glass, and that was blocked by the spoiler. Car looks so sexy, it does.
Design house Bertoni produced this, a concept car for the Turin Motor Show. It's called the Runabout, inspired by contemporary speedboats. Now, Bertoni is probably most famous for being the design house that produced cars like the Lamborghini Miura, Lancia Stratos HF.
Oh, yes. Oh, God, those are sexy cars. I forgot about the Stratos and the Miura. Nerd.
Alfa Montreal and BAT series. But you usually hear about those cars in relation to the singular designers.
Again, nut.
People like Gandini, Giugiaro, Scaglione and Michelotti, but they were all scions of the talent-spotting nous of Giuseppe Nuccio Bertoni. So the Runabout came with 2 seats, a vaguely hull-like design with a sharp nose and wedge shape, and looked futuristic without being insanely daft. Although the rear-mounted spotlights would probably have caused some head-scratching for production.
Yeah, that's a bit weird, isn't it?
It did eventually inspire a particular favourite of mine, the Fiat X19. For that...
Oh... I've always been quite fond of that one. That is a sexy little car. And it's a Fiat, so it's going to be more reliable than a Lancia or an Alfa. In terms of reliability chart, most reliable brands out there for Italian cars, Fiat, though not by much. There's a reason that they've just sort of checked out of most markets, particularly the North American markets. And then followed by Alfa Romeo. And then at least back in the day when they were still making proper road-going cars, Lancia, least reliable. But I wouldn't give for a stick shift again. Yeah, I wouldn't know. I never learned how to drive a stick shift. I think CVTs, they've really worked out a lot of the bugs now. And I prefer automatic with the manual shift mode. Lol, that's a Fiero, damn Pontiac. No, this is a Fiat X1. This is a Fiat X1. The Fiero was something else entirely. That Miura is so swinging in the 60s. Yes, it really is. Mainly because it was a car built back in the 60s. Fiat, fix it again, Tony. You can thank Stellantis for the current Fiat. Yes. You can also thank Stellantis for the fact that Lancia has just... I'm sorry, I have that line playing out from The Godfather. Look how they massacred my boy. For a while, at least, back when they still had some of these models. I kid you not, all Lancia had to offer was rebadged versions of the Chrysler 300 and the Town & Country minivan. I'm sorry, but when I think of Lancia, I don't think of oversized, boxy American saloon cars or minivans. That's not the spirit of Lancia. I have a friend with a Fiat Nicky. It's such a hilarious car. Some of them can be quite goofy, particularly some of the vans or the people carriers that they had. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers the Fiat Doblo, kind of meant to compete on the level of like the old Citroen Berlingo Multispace, which was incidentally one of the first cars reviewed by Jeremy Clarkson for what was then new Top Gear. Lots of cars made the 1960s. Miura is almost iconic for the term. Yeah, I mean, it's a work of art. And they're absolutely priceless now. Probably fetch easily $1 million on the auction market. Tell me they aren't cousins. CVT would be fine if they took the stupid shift points out, made it a real CVT, but always missed the stick.
I love it already. You can see the direct relationship straight away. The early 70s was a good time to be a car designer with a set square.
Bertoni has decided to revive the entire thing as a proper production car, albeit in severely limited numbers, because only 25 will ever be built. And you can have it
And they'll
either as
cost
a
a
Barchetta,
fortune.
like the original, which comes with a little windbreak of a windscreen and then no roof at all, or a Targa, which is a bit more practical, like this. The thing is, deciding which one is better is a bit like deciding which eye I like.
I'd go with
Under
the Targa.
here is a bonded and
More
extruded
practical.
aluminium chassis, and in the back is a Toyota-sourced 3.5-litre V6. And if that sounds slightly familiar, then yes, there is quite a lot of exige in this chassis here. But this isn't a car that's just been rebodied.
Okay, so rebodied from a Lotus Exige, and that Toyota V6 engine, I have to wonder if they took that out of, maybe took it out of a, what, a Supra? She's pretty, I'll give them that much. Oh yes, it's a beautiful car. Only 25 made. We're probably looking at a six or seven figure supercar or hypercar.
These parts are sourced separately and modified by Bertoni, so they actually come with their own Bertoni VIN number. I think what I'm trying to say here is that this isn't a car that left somebody else's factory and then got rebodied. It's a unique bit of Bertoni kit made from supplied parts. No matter the provenance, I like Toyota engines because they're extremely reliable. And this one has 468 brake horsepower from a bespoke tune.
Damn.
Interestingly, the original car had a 1.1-litre
It almost sounds like something they would put in the LFA. Like the Supra has a 3.5-litre straight six. Okay, so this is something different then. Maybe something sourced from Lexus, perhaps? Who knows?
with 50 horsepower. So the new version has 50% more cylinders and about 10 times the power. But more important than the horsepower figure is the fact that this car is actually really, really light. Because it's made of tin foil and Kit Kat wrappers, it weighs just 1,150 kilograms, which means that I reckon I could pick that thing up if I tried hard enough. And that means it'll be relatively fast.
A few able-bodied men, yes, they could do
0 to 62 miles an hour in about 4.1 seconds and around 170 miles an hour top speed. But that's kind of not the point. This car will be deft and fun to drive and lightweight, and that's kind of what we want, right? Something that isn't just headbutt acceleration, but tattoos a grin of enjoyment across your face. And under here, there's fully adjustable double wishbone suspension, so you can set this thing up exactly how you like it.
Bertoni talks
Those look like proper hubcap on the wheels. Haven't seen those in a while.
about this being neo-retro.
Yeah, Supra were inlines. I know I've seen that engine, can't place it. Maybe Lexus, don't know, I'd have to Google.
And you can see it in the design choices, though I do see some Ferrari 348 GTB in the lines.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
So you've got this really low nose.
Though I think that's more Pininfarina than Bertoni.
Which gives it a really sharp front end, and it looks more architectural because it has the pop-up headlights, so you can...
Can I just say, thank God someone's brought these back. I mean, it's not much. They're not really popping up all that much. They're just sort of peeking out a bit. But that's just because more than likely they're LEDs. You don't need a whole lot of LEDs for them to be really bright, really powerful.
Keep everything smooth. Then there's a bonnet vent which exhausts hot air from the front of the car. And then there's this swage line that comes from the middle of the front of the car all the way round through this wheel arch and rakes up towards the back of the car. It gives it a really sort of forward leaning, like a sprinter in the blocks kind of stance. But one of my favourite bits of this car are actually, weirdly, the wheel arches. If you look at the radiusing, it's got this big sort of semicircular shape, but it goes all the way into the middle of the car. And when you look down it, you see it sort of repeated in the rear wheel arches. It's got...
So it sort of sticks out as a little bit of a flare, but the flare is just so plush and built into the body itself that it doesn't really flare per se.
18-inch wheels on the front and then 19s on the back, which adds to that kind of raked stance. And then you can see the body side is very much aping the original car. So it's got these textural elements all the way through it. But look at the way this moves from the front of the car all the way up to the back where the steel roll hoop is. Then there's the slatted rear.
The paint job is a bit too bright and the light and everything's too bright for us to really tell all the details here.
Engine cover, and as you move through you see that wheel arch radius again over the bigger wheel.
You can make out the wheel arch.
Would have had an even smaller wheel and a bigger tyre to give you that proper chunky kind of retro feel, but this looks...
Yeah, this is quite a sporty tyre, and I don't know, doesn't look like it can absorb a lot in terms of bumps. You're probably going to be feeling the bumps in this one. Not going to be the most comfortable ride. That's probably not the point though, it's more to go fast. She was built to drive for sure, absolutely.
It's pretty good. And don't forget, it does have quite a lot of horsepower, so modern tyres are pretty necessary. And also to get over the...
Really could have used a better set to display the car. And yeah, maybe not go for the pure white set and then try to compensate with either a sort of cream or sepia filter on the camera or something in post-production in the editing booth. Maybe go for something a bit grayscale, that way the car itself really stands out. Yeah, white on white, that doesn't quite make sense.
Bigger brakes. And then at the back, it could have been quite fat and big, but again they've taken inspiration from the original car, and the back of the car actually breaks downwards here. So it takes some of the visual weight out of it. You end up with this dog bone shape that comes up and out and around, and then just some 4 vents, more slatted bits. It's actually quite simple, but it's full of detail. This car feels like it's been edited down to be the best it can be. And also, it takes inspiration from the past without being pastiche. That's why I like it.
What I really like here is that old school rake look. Like the car is actually leaning forwards like a sprinter set up on blocks with the rising swage line.
You can really tell from certain angles, a heavily modified Lotus. From the look of things, people really underestimate what a company like Lotus can and has done. They really are, I think, highly underrated, highly underappreciated car company. Those tires should be directionals. You're going to be riding like an old CJ, but she's not going to lean for shit in the twisties or giving it the beans.
And the fact that it's really dainty. In a world full of fat SUVs, this looks absolutely fabulous.
Now, of course, on the Barchetta, that has a kind of aero windscreen, which only comes up to about here, which is why these wing mirrors are on their own little post. But on the Targa, to get in, all you do is pop open the door, and then you can lift up the roof panel like this, which makes them for a much more elegant solution. Some supercars are a real hassle to get into. Not so much this one. And don't forget, on sunny day...
I mean, that is helpful that you can kind of pop up a portion of the roof, but still, that is a tight squeeze if that's what you're having to do in order to get into that car. It's almost like trying to squeeze into a Mazda Miata, kind of like the rear window louvers on the Miata P400. They made a submarine car that shot torpedoes. Yes, the Lotus Esprit. There was a James Bond film, The Spy Who Loved Me, 1977.
You can lift this entire panel out. The inside has more of the same thoughtful attention to detail, with lots of nods to the original 1969 concept. The first being an actual analog compass on the dash, which is analog sat-nav, if you will. And then the rest of the car is very simple, very edited, very pared back. So there's this minimal kind of milled aluminium wheel, a small digital driver's display, and then some physical controls for things like air conditioning and hazards and lights. Plus,
I mean, I'm glad they have actual flippy knobs that you can use for that sort of thing. But man, that is a really minimal interior. It might be a bit too minimal. I think we've really gone way too far with the minimalist interiors on a lot of cars. And still, the fact that there's no proper like speedo and RPM gauge, that I don't like that. I really don't like that. Cursed to be minimalism, indeed. Yeah, very bare bones.
Obviously, the exposed gear linkage, but there's not a lot to this car because frankly, it doesn't need it. This isn't a technical feeling car when it comes to the attitude of driving, and that's why I think it might be a laugh. And after that, you've got simple things like references to the original 1969 car with slim leather sports seats with the Bertoni logo embroidered into the headrest.
That's
and
cool.
I did notice a manual handbrake, which initially made me irrationally happy, which means I'm getting old.
The Runabout is the second of Bertoni's retro restyles after the hypercarish GB110.
That looks like a restyled Lamborghini. I only need speed, RPM, oil pressure, and water temp. The rest can go to hell. And honestly, once you get to know, you don't even need RPM.
They're limited edition, super stylish reworkings that make you think of classic coach-built cars, where new bodies are built over another car's proven underpinnings. Yes, this might arguably be a bespoke car, but there are definite advantages to knowing what you're working with.
The extremely limited series production means you can get away with slightly more extreme ideas, but I have to say, having seen it now, I am utterly besotted with the Runabout. It's kind of like the Fiat X19 for the modern era. It's genuinely exciting to look at and feel, and given the specs, it should be a hoot to drive. So I guess the big question is whether you should go Barchetta or Targa, whether you can get on the waiting list, and whether you can afford the €390,000 starting price. But given the level of exclusivity and the
€390,000. So what? Roughly about 400 grand for one of. I mean, that tracks. That is about what I was expecting.
It should be so much fun. I actually think that's pretty good value. Anybody want to buy a kidney?
Wait. You're not even going to take it out on a test track? I mean, could we at least get it out on the track at Dunsfold? Really give it the beans? What, we can't even do that? The hell sort of review is this? No track test? Thumbs down for that. I don't want to just look at the thing. I want to see how it does on a track. Yeah, at least drive it around. Sure, let me check the couch. Love these machines. Don't even dream anymore. Yeah, it's new Top Gear, no wonder.